Respected dignitaries on the dais and in the audience, uh, my esteemed fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and it's indeed a pleasure to be here talking smart grids as anchor infrastructure for smart cities. And what I've selected as a topic to focus on today is smart asset management for smart grids and how we can leverage this in the other areas of smart cities that we talk about. So I've just, roughly listed down the points that I'll be covering, but the focus will be on the case studies around the electricity and then how that has been leveraged even in the water and transportation department. So I'll look at, running through in the allotted time. So let's look at, to begin with, the infrastructure investment cycles. And we've observed, historically, whenever there has been an investment in infrastructure, it has resulted in productivity, as well as an improved quality of life. So if you look at the initial wave of investment, it was more into physical infrastructure. So you had transportation, energy, you had the institutes for education, health, water, and all these came in in the initial phase of investment. Over the last 50 years, there's been a revolution in terms of investment in digital infrastructure for communication and information processing. And now we are entering an era, a new phase of intelligent infrastructure investment, leveraging the digital infrastructure, combining it with capabilities of information modeling so that we create an intelligent infrastructure that can achieve better performance over its life cycle. And as we see this investment in intelligent infrastructure, Bentley as a technology provider is committed and to adding value as well as advancing these investments in infrastructure. And our core strength at Bentley has been information mobility. How do we take information and as the asset moves in its life cycle from the build, from the design to the build to the operate phase, how do we build that information? Because this is going to be the key as far as our intelligent infrastructure is concerned. Our mission essentially is to provide software and services for enterprises who design, build, and operate the world's infrastructure, sustaining global economy and environment for an improved quality of life. And as you can see, our mission statement is also very, it synergizes with what a smart city is actually looking at from a goal perspective. And today, Bentley, is contributing in various areas. We are into every facet of infrastructure. We have tailor-made offerings catering to every facet of infrastructure, as you can see out there. These are some of the accolades. So ARC has rated us #1. It's an advisory group, and they have rated us #1 in a number of areas. Also, PwC came out with a consolidated list of top 100 software companies, and we featured on that list at number 70, and number 43 with companies purely from revenue from software only. So smart grid. So when we look at smart cities and the initiatives that our esteemed panelists have already talked about, we're looking at smart transportation, smart water management. We're looking at different areas, but the key is for these services to actually perform efficiently, we need reliable and quality power. And therefore, the smart grid is very, very important in this entire context. And that's exactly what it is entasked with. So when we look at the key business drivers of smart grid, it talks about the grid reliability and stability, and it talks about efficiency. How can we mitigate outages, blackage impacts? How can we provide improved operational decision support? How can we manage our aging infrastructure, our workforce, the knowledge that today is available in the people? How can we systemize it so that it can be used for generations to come? And that's what the smart grid is driving. And we look at certain organizations also when they come up. So you see EPRI, one of the organizations, is actually talking of the need for asset lifecycle information management, apart from smarter applications and communication technologies. There's also an IEEE document that talks about achieving smart asset management. And then today we have standards in place. So there was a UK-based standard called PAS 55, which has been around for a very long time. And now that has matured into a more global standard, ISO 55000, that defines the best practices around asset management. And this is there today. And when we look at why these organizations are talking about asset management, asset information management, the key lies in being able to answer these questions. Do you know and can you prove it? What is my asset and where is it? What are its business and performance requirements? What is the condition? How is it performing? How can it fail? What is the likelihood and the consequence of that failure? Do I have a mitigation strategy in place to avoid that failure? And when is it time to replace that asset? So as we start looking for information or answers to these questions, we'll realize the significance and the importance of having an asset information management or an asset management system in place. And so a lot of our panelists have also talked about silos. And traditionally, we have been departmentalized, and each department today creates information. But how can we and how can we bring this information together? And that's where asset management acts as the glue, the enabler to overcome these silos. It's about bridging the OT and the IT gap. I think over the last 3 days, we've been hearing a lot about how this is being done. And that's where Bentley's asset management solution plays a key role. So today we are involved with a number of companies, with a number of corporations globally as well as in India, providing asset management capabilities that fully comply with ISO 55000 standards. And it consists of two components essentially. It's a technical component and a tactical component. So it's about having a business process in place, a business priority, and then aligning the people and the technology to meet that process or that business goal. And once you have that process in place, technology can be used to implement real-time management of those processes, optimize those processes, and then achieve more from less. So I'll not get into details of this standard, but the core is that you need commitment. So the standard is there. There's a framework that is there in place for asset management, but it needs to be sustainable, and you need organizational commitment to adopt these standards. And today, we at Bentley have the technology to bring into place, not only from a standards point of view, but also combining operational technology with information technology to give you that rich decision support system. So having said that, let me just get into certain case studies so that will be more relevant. And I'll begin with a couple of case studies in the electricity segment. So this is a company called Exelon, which runs generation, transmission, and distribution in the US. And the key challenge that they were facing is aging infrastructure. And they were under tremendous pressure because they were unable to visualize the health of their assets. They had challenges in terms of understanding what is their asset health and when to replace those assets. And that's where we brought in technology. They had a number of systems. We brought those siloed systems, integrated those systems, and they were now able to get visibility into asset health. So we did a lot of complicated health modeling, health indexing, and that's where they were able to now classify their assets as healthy, minor health issues, or asset in poor health. There's another case study we have called Pacific Gas and Electric. So most of you would be aware of them. They have in excess of 900 electric substations, 1,400 transformer banks, and 8,000 circuit breakers. And again, they were under tremendous pressure from regulatory agencies, to achieve reliability standards. And one of the things that they were looking for is a need to automate their inspection routes at the substations, and also to move from a time-based approach to a condition-based maintenance approach. So the way they were doing it is that each month, the electricians would go out in the field to inspect various data, but the way it was recorded was in paper. And some of us can have a doctor's handwriting, which is very illegible at times. So how do we capture this information? So the goal was to capture this information, so a third party was actually entering this information into SAP for further processing. And that's where we use the digital infrastructure, the investment that has been made in digital infrastructure to automate these routines, so that now the process becomes automated. You can objectively collect that information in the field and integrate with your ERP, CMMS systems in place. And they were not only able to comply with the regulatory standards, but were also able to create better asset management plans in place. And having talked about the smart grid per se, I would just like to refer to two case studies in the water segment and in the transportation segment, and why smart asset management is not only key from a grid perspective, but also from the other aspects of the smart city. And this is a very interesting case study at South Australia Water. So they have won 2 national awards in 2014. And they started a project for forecast demand and water optimization in 2012. And they employed Bentley's technology to deliver a suite of decision support tools, essentially for demand forecasting, demand optimization. Then there was a network operational model to predict the performance of the asset over the next 7 days. And they also had a system in place where they could see on a dashboard the asset management, the geographic information systems, the water health, the quality, billing, and all other meteorology information all in a single window. And the reason they went for this is because they faced challenges to begin with. There was a need to improve their water management. There was a requirement of more water specific to Adelaide, the metropolitan of Adelaide. And that's when they decided to go ahead with demand forecasting and demand optimization tools. And while all these tools help them, help the operators inform them where, when, and how much water was needed, it also brought in real-time information of non-revenue water. So where are the losses actually taking place in the system? And they got better visibility into both IT and OT so that now they could take better decisions. But having said that, they wanted to, the new challenge was how to do this more cost efficiently, more cost effectively. And that's where they introduced something called as the energy portfolio management, wherein we were able to integrate with real-time data from the Australian energy market operator. That's within every 30 minutes, we were able to bring in that data. And today, SA Water, they buy electricity on the spot market. So by virtue of having all this information, now they were able to see the time of the day, the best time of the day when they could start or turn on their major pumps. That resulted in tremendous energy savings as well as cost savings for them. And the benefits are there for all to see. On the transportation side, okay, before I get into transportation, just thought I'll bring in a little Indian context. So today we are working in India. We are working in India to convert intermittent water supply into a more 24/7 water supply. So we've worked with the Maharashtra Jeevan Pradhikaran, Delhi Jal Board. We're working with UP Jal Board. There's also a special purpose vehicle in Nagpur called Orange City, where we're working with them. And if you have heard of Project Kakatiya in Telangana, which is talking about a water grid, more on the lines of a smart grid, that's where we are also working in the water segment. Crossrail in the transportation, this is probably, some of you may be aware, it's probably a unique project, 21 kilometers of railway underground, connecting East and West London. And obviously the challenges are many. And apart from the business challenges that Crossrail had, the main challenge was managing so many contractors and the information mobility that was part of the challenge. And that's again, when they realized this problem very early, and we got involved with Crossrail to create a best practice in lifecycle information management. And what they say Crossrail today is we're not building just one asset, we're building 2 assets. There's a physical asset and a digital asset. And the key here is to be able to hand over that valuable information so that it becomes operational ready for asset management. So they achieved a lot of benefits, and in the transportation industry in India as well, we're working with Orissa PWD for their asset management. We're also executing a project with Andhra Pradesh as well as with Telangana. These are all World Bank projects, and we're looking to see how we can take the benefits that we've done globally and bring it into the Indian context as well. So just to summarize, for us to achieve operational excellence, smart asset management is key. And I'll not like to read through this, but the goal is to follow a risk-based approach, and that will entail us to getting sustainable business strategy at the end of the day for operational excellence and safety. We look forward to working closely here in India on the technology front, both from smart grids and the smart cities perspective. Thank you very much.